Ladies and gentlemen, day 15. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to say something. I don't want to be here today. And it's not because of you. I love you. And obviously, I love doing this stuff. I'm really tired today. Today is, if you're following along, actually chronologically, starting at the same time I'm doing it, it's Mario Day. It's MAR, March 1010 Mario Day. And because of that, had a huge event at Bitmass Game Studios tonight with all my students that are actually taking my real courses on how to develop NES games, my in-person courses. And we just had a big party, and it was a lot to plan for. We had 11 different systems playing, plus all the a couple of emulators, plus all the games. We're talking NES, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, Game Boy, Wii U, GameCube, Switch, multiple Switches set up, a couple of computers set up, and just running an event like that solo was bad enough. But also, my wife's out of town, and I had both kids, an 8 and 4-year-old, with me, and so it was chaos, and I'm tired. And the reason I'm telling you all this, and I'm wasting a minute of the video saying this, I should have the webcam on. The reason I'm saying this is because I'm still here. I'm still here because we're only going to put in about 20 minutes. We might go a little bit over because I'm rambling a little bit here, but we're putting in 20 minutes a day. I committed to doing this. I'm hoping you have committed to doing this because I want you to make games and I want you to want to make games. And I want you to say, just like a workout, where that day you don't feel like doing it, after you do it, you'll feel so much better. So I'm glad you're here with me. And I committed to doing this for the entire month while Bite Off is going. And I freaking mean it. So let's dive in. Despite me wanting to go crash on the couch and fall straight to sleep while watching something stupid on TV, we are going to have another day and we are going to make something fun happen today. What are we going to do? Oh, yeah, we're going to try some things. What I want to do is I want to create, let me go to my overworld here. I need to get rid of these tiles. I don't need to get rid of the image of them. I just need to make sure that I don't have that 7 and 8 on there because I do not want to have to dodge the bullets while I also do what I'm about to do. I'm going to make a tile that like a conveyor belt that makes me glide. And I want one that's vertical and I want one that's horizontal. That's easy. But the thing that I want to do too is I want to do animated tiles, but we're not ready to do animated tiles. We're not going to fit that into a 20-minute video. But what we can do is we could kind of do either some palette cycling, or we could just have a light that's blinking that's like a left arrow or right arrow that's showing me that things are moving in a direction. And that's sort of what I'm going to do. So we're going to treat it that way. I could do animations maybe in another video, but I don't think that's right for this series. So I'm going to go to my pixel editor and I'm going to open up my BCK CHR03. And what I'm going to do is I'm also going to open up my BCK 02. So I'm going to add a tab and I'll open up this guy just so I have access to the same tiles. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this exact tile right here. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to paste it in. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to think about this. I'm going to go to my monster palettes. I don't think I'm really using this. I don't think I use this tile, this sub palette at all, right? I used this so it's the same color. And now I could do other things with this color and this color. I don't want to change the white because the white is what I'm going to use for my text, but I can change this. So let me make this sort of like a bright bluish color and put an arrow on this. And it's just going to be an arrow, and maybe I'll make it like this. Like this, and what I could do is I could even like really make the point. There we go. So it's an arrow like that. And if I wanted to, I could make another one that's going to go up. But for right now, I'm just going to leave it just like that. What I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want this to sort of flash so I can tell that this is like an active something. It's something that's cool. But let's mechanically make it work. So I'm going to save this. Go to my overworld. I don't think I had anything I didn't have anything that used this sub palette. So that's good. If I put this in, I want to make sure that I'm going to put my set warp in location, make sure that it wasn't on there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to need a brand new tile type. So forget it actually making me move right now, or forget it actually blinking right now or whatever. Let's make me sort of move. And this shouldn't be too hard. Any object that stands on this is going to make it slide this way relatively fast. So it's not going to give it inertia. It's literally going to change its X value before it gets to the actual inertia scene. So if I'm walking this way, it'll like scooch this way and like that kind of thing. So what I'll do is I'll come into screen settings. And I'm going to scroll down to tile types, and I'm going to use this one. But notice I'm not going to edit my blank. We talked about this before. I don't want to edit my blank because all of these are blank, and they would all edit. A blank is supposed to be blank. It's supposed to be blank. It's supposed to be blank. So I'm going to edit this one right here. And I'm not actually going to edit that one, but I'm going to use that because if I use that and I go to File New, File New, it'll put it in the same place. So I'm going to call this right moving conveyor, and I'm going to hit File, Save As, and if I change this to an assembly language source file, you can see you can see where I am. I'm in the maze base tiles. So I'm going to call this one conveyor right, and I'll hit save. And I'm not going to do anything here yet. I'm going to come back to that, but I'm going to set it to this new blank tile. And it wasn't 7 and wasn't 8. If you remember, 7 and 8, those were my statues that shot at me, right? So I want 9 to be, they didn't have a script because they didn't do anything. And what I probably would want to do is I'd probably want them to emulate what solid does. I'd probably want them to do exactly what solid does. But anyway, that's something I can come back to when I start cleaning this up, or I'm going to see that kind of thing. So I was in maze base, I was in tiles, and conveyor right, and now it'll do whatever that script does. Awesome. And I want to name it. So I'm going to project labels, tile types, and tile type number 9. So yeah, left statue, right statue. This one is going to be conveyor right. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to say, I probably have to go off, cut back, and there it is, conveyor right. And I'm going to draw those by holding 0. And now I know that when I touch that, just to test it, what I'm going to do is JMP reset. So if any object touches it right now, it's going to reset. So let's just test to make sure that everything's wired up right. Use that trick a lot. Start, and there we go, reset. So I don't want to reset. What I want it to do, very simply, is I want it to take whatever is in Xavier right now, whatever object Xavier is holding. I'm going to say object X high, comma X, CLC, ADC, and this is sort of the speed. So I'm going to put 4 here, and maybe that's too much, and maybe that's not enough, and I'm going to store that to object X high X. So what I'm doing is I'm loading the X position of the object. I'm adding 4 to it. I'm storing it back in, and this is happening separately from the actual physics. So it should feel exactly like I would think. I step on a conveyor and it busts me sideways as soon as any pixel on my body is steps on it, and it does not work. So let me see why. So we also could have a problem where this collision script is happening in between where I'm pushing this to a variable called X hold and where it's restoring X hold. So what I'm going to do is I'll do this. I'll also store it to X hold high, and I'm curious if that will make a difference. Let's see. There we go. And that's what I wanted. So, and maybe that's a little bit too fast, but it definitely is working. So maybe I'll make it 2 for right now, just to whatever. So what's actually happening in the physics script is at the very beginning of the physics script, I'll show you. At the very beginning of the physics script, I'm backing up the X position, handle physics. I'm backing up the X position. I'm putting it in this X hold. And then at the end, when I'm doing the calculations, I put it into X hold, and then I take X hold and I evaluate it against what objects and whatever. And the very last thing that I do is I take, don't even see where it is, but I take X hold and I put it back into object X high. So when I was just changing the X, it was skipping over, basically skipping over it because I was changing the X, but then X hold was changing the X at the end. That's why I had to change. I could actually erase this and it would still work because what I'm really dealing with is X hold. That's just a variable that's literally holding the X position of my player. All right, so let's take a look at that. And there we go. So now I have a conveyor. And I can't really push against it, right? I can go really fast if I walk with it. Can't really push away from it. Actually, it looks like it's about the same speed I normally move in, but it moves me automatically. Like I'm not pressing anything right there. So I might want it to move a little faster, or I might want to make my speed move a little bit slower. Guess what, guys? Making it move up and down, I would do the exact same trick, except I would store it to Y hold. So this is super easy. So what I want to do now is I want these to glow. I want them to sort of blink, and I could get really intense with this and sort of have them literally sort of pulse with color. But I think I just want them to change back and forth between like blue and white, or blue and maybe this yellow would be a good one, because I don't think I'm going to see anything that's similar to this 38 here. So what I want to do is I want to change this color. So there's a series of bytes that I have that starts with BCKPAL. So this would be one more than BCKPAL, 2 or 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 if we want to think of it in decimal math. So the number I want to change is 14 beyond BCKPAL. Okay, so what we're going to do is in our pre-draw script, I'm going to go to my pre-draw script, which was in game sprite pre-draw. I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff in there already, right? That's where I'm doing my timers. So after I skip shooting from right statue, what I'm going to do is I'm going to load a certain value. So the value I want to load, the value I want to load is 38, right? Okay. So I'm going to load 38. I'm going to store it to BCK PAL plus 14. Okay. And now what I can do is I need it to update the palette. And the way that I do that, I'll show you. If I look at my NMI, which is in my system scripts, this, by the way, is super wasteful. This is in future versions of NESmaker modules that I've used since then. This has been a lot, really much more efficient. But for right now, pretty easy to understand is if I put a 1 at the 0th bit of this variable update screen updates, it's going to do palette updates, and it's going to do the load background palette scripts. So all I got to remember is this variable. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to whatever it is, I'm going to OR in a bit right here. So in my pre-draw, I'm going to load update screen data or 000000001 stay store and accumulator update screen data. Okay, so immediately this is going to turn to that color. So I'm never going to see the blue color right now because that's going to happen every frame right now. So it's just always going to be yellow. Let's see if that did it. Always yellow, okay? But I don't want it always to be yellow. I want it to go back and forth between yellow and blue. So I could set up a timer, and this would be based on what we already know. So you know what? There's easier ways to do this. I could use VBlank timer or a timer that already exists. But because we've been playing with these timers, let's do this. I'm going to do something slightly different just for kicks. Overflow RAM add. I'm going to call this one, what do you want to call this? Pulse timer. I'll use lowercase. Pulse timer, capital T. Okay. I'm going to copy that so I don't forget what it is. Come back over here. I'm going to increase pulse timer. I'm going to compare it. I'm going to load pulse timer. And I'm going to compare it to, I don't know, hex 20, which is 32. Okay. If it is equal to 32, I'm going to change to yellow. And that is this. If it's not equal to hex 20, which is 32, I'm going to compare it to 40, which is hex value 54. BEQ, change to blue. Not 20 or 40. Jump, no change. So no change will be down here. So now I've got a change to yellow, which does this stuff, right? And then I'm going to jump to no change. So this is all that it does. Or I'm going to copy this, exact same thing, except I'll say change to blue. By the way, there's a much more efficient way to write this with a couple less lines of code, but this should be easy to understand. So what I'll do is I don't want to change it to 38. I want to change it back to blue, which is 22. So I'll come back here and instead of 28, I'll change it to 22. And now it will, and then also if it gets to 40, change to blue. The other thing I want to do is I want to load 0 and store it to pulse timer. So it'll just oscillate all the way up to hex 40, which is 64, and then it'll go back to 0 and we'll start over again. So let's see if that works. And that's just a handy, quick way to do a palette update. So this should sort of pulse. So blue, then yellow, blue, yellow, blue, yellow. So it just kind of gives me an indicator that like that's something to see. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make it, I'm going to slow down my player. I think I actually kind of like that speed. So I'm going to change this to 24. So while we're at it, I might as well do a vertical one. I could also do one that moves left. I could do, whatever, but let's do a vertical one just to make sure that you guys get the idea. Should be super easy. And the changing of the color is going to be exactly the same. So that's the hard part. That was the code part. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, paste it over here. Inside, I'm going to make an up arrow instead. There, unfortunately, is no rotate in this version of NESmaker. But let's see, I'll go down like this. I want one past like this. And you could do up, down, left, and right. If we got really tricky, we could have it sort of change which direction it's spinning me, and that might be fun. But I'm going to save it as that. I'm going to go to my overworld. I'm going to do one of these sort of, what was it, Dragon Warrior that did this, Dragon Quest. It's going to show me black until I reset the screen. There we go. So it's going to come here, and then it's going to have it fly up this way. And I could make one that goes left, and you can see it would make me fall in the hole, whatever. That was that Dragon Quest shtick. So now what I need to do is I'm going to just go back to my scripts. I'm going to look at the one that was conveyor right. I'm going to hit save as. And I'm going to call this one conveyor up. It's going to be exactly the same. I'm looking at conveyor up right now. Instead of the X, I'm going to Y, and I'm not going to add to. I'm going to STC, SBC2, and I'm going to store that to Y hold. So I'm still dealing with the Y that's in Xavier, and I'm storing it to Y hold. And so now all I got to do is go into my scripts here and go to my tile. I'm going to use 10. Game, maze base, tiles, conveyor up. I'm also going to give that a name. So tile 10 was conveyor up. Close that and go to collision and choose conveyor up. Oh, I got to come back, go and refresh. Sorry. So when I refresh, that'll say conveyor up. There we go. Collision. These are all conveyor up. And we'll test the game. And it should shoot me over and then up as soon as I touch that one conveyor, which is kind of fun. Like that. So, there's the challenge of it sort of barely touching it, but it definitely is working as intended. And that's a cool little mechanic. I could use that to suggest wind. I could also make it so that only, I mean, if I really want to get crazy, it only did that when it was blue. So it would only do that. And you know what? I'm going to do that, just for kicks. I'm going to do that, show you guys how to do that, just so we can remove it since we're already this far. Because all it's going to take is us to look at this variable. And if it's over 40, if it's yellow, if it's over 20, hex 20, that's what it's gonna push me. Otherwise, it won't. Now, I don't really want that, but let's just see what that would look like. So I'm gonna open conveyor left here, conveyor right, that one. Okay, and I only want to do this. I'm gonna load. What was that variable? Pulse timer. So I'm gonna load pulse timer. I'm gonna compare it to hex 20. If it is less than hex 20, I'm going to skip. And if it's more, it's going to do this. And don't forget, when it gets to 40, it's going to go back down. So skip. And I'm going to do that same thing for conveyor up. Load pulse timer. Compare to 20. BCC. Skip. This will have a cool effect. And notice, as soon as I touch it, I'm going to let go of all buttons. You can see it like pulse and move me forward, and pulse, and then stop, and then pulse and move me forward again. And it'll be, I think, when it's yellow. So if I jump on it when I'm blue, right? So that's kind of neat, and it might have a cool effect. And maybe I'd use that for wind or something like that. I could even have it move me left if it's one color and right if it's the other color, and I'd have to try and get on there at the right colors. I could change the amount of time before it goes to the other one, like maybe it's 40 and 80 or 80 and one. It wouldn't be 160, but you get the idea. Maybe that's how I'd want to handle it. So it's up to you, but I thought I'd show that as a fun mechanic to work on. Again, guys, I am beat. I'm dead to the world. I need to get some sleep. So I hope that you guys are enjoying these. I'm putting a lot of thought into them as far as how we can make sort of impressive feeling mechanics and how we can approach graphics in a quick way that still creates something kind of unique and fun. And hopefully you're starting to learn the language of assembly a little bit. I hope they're helping. Please, sound off in the comments, share, etc. All the things that YouTubers say, and I can't wait to see what you guys are cranking on. Talk to you all very, very soon.